So great to see you, Pastor Graham.
Great to see you, Dan.
Really good that you bothered to come down from Wolverhampton. Appreciate that. And we've known each other, I think, for 2 years, something like that.
It's something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
And we did a mission together, I think, 2 years ago, which was great in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you coming down tonight. And we're going to talk about, guess what, the gospel. So
Subject.
So my first question, Graham, is what is the real message of Jesus?
That's a great question. When I first read that and you sent it to me, it sent me on a rabbit trail of thinking about what that means. What was the real message of Jesus? Because there are lots of competing ideas out there about what Jesus really came to say. And the thing that I landed upon was that Jesus was unique amongst every other religious teacher, in that Jesus didn't come to point to a particular set of teachings. He didn't just come and say, here's my teaching, obey this. But Jesus was unique in that he really pointed to himself. Jesus's main teaching was, come to me. And it was, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and none shall come to the Father except through me. So Jesus's ultimate message was himself. And that message was one of reconciliation with God. The Christian message, the message that Jesus came to give the world, was really a message about how to be reconciled to God. And that reconciliation was brought not through a teaching, but through himself, through his person.
Literally through his broken body.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how did the gospel first strike you, Graham?
I think I remember from an early age, my parents talking to me about who Jesus was, about what he'd done for me at the cross. And so I was raised in a home where those sort of central issues of sin and righteousness and what Jesus came to do, they were central themes for me from a young age. And so when I first remember hearing the gospel, I was about the age of 10. And I was at a Bible week, and I remember somebody standing up and preaching the gospel. And I remember responding to it and realizing that this is something I needed. It was pressed onto my conscience, and I remember that and just feeling Jesus is somebody that I need in my life. I can't be without him, and I'm not enough on my own. And I responded to that when I was very young. And then for a series of years through school, kept recommitting my life to Jesus. Yeah. I don't know how many times I did that, but I remember vividly, from an early age, I was aware of my need of God and my need of Christ.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit of a snap as you said that, because I remember giving my life to Jesus over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think in hindsight, it was because I had some expectation that something would immediately feel different, or I'd start hovering above the ground, or I don't know what I expected, but because I didn't feel anything, I felt like maybe something hadn't happened. And I think I realized as the time went on that it was about truth rather than a feeling.
It's a really good point. And I think for me, that was a big part of it, was that there was almost an expectation that you were going to have some kind of like super powerful religious experience when you prayed this prayer. And when it didn't happen, you thought, well, it didn't work. I need to go back, and maybe I didn't say the words in the right order. Like if I say it in the right way, well, then I get this kind of reaction. But it's realizing that, we are just kind of living in a culture that is just so imbued with personal encounter. It's all about subjective experiences and emotions and feelings. And so in a sense, I think that had kind of crept into the gospel presentation and into the church, where instead of the gospel being about truth and a presentation of what actually has happened outside of you objectively, it became a message rather about what happens inside of you in response to that thing. And so many of us, I think, growing up in the 80s, the 90s, were left with that impression of, well, does God not love me because I'm not feeling the same way that that person does, or I didn't quite have the experience that the person on the stage said that they had, so maybe it didn't work. But actually, I think that has more to do with the culture than it does to do with the real gospel, because feelings are important, but they don't determine truth.
That's so powerful, and I think the emphasis of feelings over truth, not just on the salvation issue, but in all sorts of other areas, can get us into some very strange positions.
Certainly. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, absolutely.
But more of that another time. Thank you, Graham. That's wonderful.